Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our Commissioner Status Update meeting. Today's date is August 12th, 2025. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline and Matari, and Commissioner Duncan is on the telephone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Public comment. Anyone wish to speak? Come on up. Well, you get 3 minutes. And please state your name, too, for the record.
My name is Jen Noel, and I am with an action-oriented grassroots organization called Stop Smart Cities that is concerned with North Idaho communities being quietly turned into smart cities or 15-minute cities right under our nose. Several weeks ago, I contacted all 3 commissioners to offer them an opportunity to protect the Kootenai County residents from a recent telecom bill, HB 180, passed during the 2025 state legislative session, allowing telecom companies to deploy cell towers more easily. Deploy is a word used in the bill. Stop Smart Cities recently hosted a Zoom call with our elected officials and a New York attorney, Mr. Caponelli, who specializes in cell tower law. In fact, Mr. Caponelli actually drafted the telecom ordinance for Dalton Gardens 3 years ago, and it has never been challenged. I'm happy to say that 2 of the 3 commissioners attended the telecommunications ordinance Zoom workshop several weeks ago. I subsequently contacted all 3 commissioners to offer a gift, no strings attached, from Stop Smart Cities to the residents of Kootenai County through the county commissioners. Stop Smart Cities has offered to pay all fees to hire Mr. Caponelli to draft a telecom ordinance customized for Kootenai County. Since the commissioners are currently working on updating their existing telecom ordinance, it seems to be a perfect time to make this offer. To be clear, the telecom ordinance will not ban cell towers in Kootenai County, but it will establish specific guidelines and restrictions, as well as detailed application instructions for our county employees who receive little to no training regarding the application process. Currently, we are fundraising for 2 municipalities that we have offered this prepaid customized telecom ordinance to, and Kootenai County is one of the 2 municipalities. Since the telecom bill, HB 180, went into effect on July 1st, 2025, it is a priority for Stop Smart Cities that our residents be protected with a detailed, updated telecom ordinance. We would appreciate a timely response, and we look forward to hearing from you. My second issue, I would like to address the automated license plate readers, which is warrantless surveillance and is a violation of our constitutional freedoms. Americans should never be asked to give up their freedom under the guise of safety. Never. I would hope our elected officials would innately know to vote against these issues that undermine and erode our freedoms. I'm asking that the funding for the APRs be removed from the 2026 budget because our freedoms are non-negotiable, even when it comes to safety. Constitutional attorney Chris Ann Hall, I believe she's a friend of Commissioner Duncan, has instructed Americans to not take the bait of safety over freedom. Thanks.
Thank you. Next. Just please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Seth Deniston. I'm Deputy Superintendent of Operations for Coeur d'Alene Public Schools. And in addition to overseeing all the operational departments of the school district, for many years I've overseen our safety and security program, which includes negotiating SRO contracts. So I wanted to come today after watching your July 30th meeting and just give a little bit of context on SRO contracts and perhaps give you some more information. So first of all, we view this as a partnership between ourselves and Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. It's very important to us and to our community to keep our students safe. And you talked a little bit about that in your meeting. Another thing that was brought up was the paying the full weight of the costs. And in no way does the school district not want to pay our share of the costs. We have traditionally always had SRO contracts, which were part of the SRO's salary. But in many cases, 100% is not fair for a couple of reasons. One, schools are not in session year-round. We're in session typically 9 months out of the school year, 75% of the year. Most districts also have 180 days or less of school, and so that works out to about 50%. So most SRO contracts I see are between 50 to 75% of the costs that are incurred. Additionally, this is truly a partnership. We live in an area that has high levels of recreation and resort activities during the summer, the busiest times of the year. And because of the SRO contracts, this is giving additional deputies during that busiest times of the year. Most deputies that act as SROs are in the schools during the school year and then back out on patrol or on the streets during that busiest time of the year. The other thing I would ask is to just give us as much time as possible if you're going to make dramatic changes to SRO contracts. Our taxing cycle is different than yours. We are on a 2-year levy cycle, so it does take us some time. We do not get any funding for school safety and security from the state, and so that's an added burden to our local taxpayers. Certainly, they have shown their support for it over the many years of our levy. We list that explicitly. That's how we pay for our safety and security programs. We would just ask that we have as much time as possible if you're going to make dramatic changes to those contracts. But we do see it absolutely as a partnership, one that's important to our constituents. Certainly, we all have a vested interest in keeping our students safe during the school year. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up. Just state your name for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Mickles, and I'm holding an article here that with the headline, it's a CBS news story from July 24th, 2025, and the headline reads, "When License Plate Readers Get It Wrong." And it's an interesting article. And of course, I know that you will catch with license plate readers, you will catch some guilty, of course, but you will also catch, as the story shows, you will also catch innocent citizens. And that's primarily why it's a violation of our Fourth Amendment rights. Police must get a warrant in this country. And the emotional safety argument is not good enough for our founding fathers or for the majority of citizens when they find out about this. Police must get a warrant. And it's not too hard to see, as the CBS article points out, how technology can and will be abused as the technology becomes even better. So I'm asking you to please put this on hold and to not move forward with the license plate reader funding because, as I stated, in this country, we have a history of getting warrants and not placing all of the citizens in a drag net to catch people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Anybody on the telephone? No? Okay, we'll move on to our first business item, and it's third quarter 2025 quarterly financial statement presentation. I have Kyle Westerman here. Would you like to lead us off?
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, Kyle Westerman for the record. I'm here to present the third quarter financial statements. It's kind of a budget to actual update on where we're at as a county. I'd like to remind everybody this is our numbers. They're not audited by any outside firms or anything like that. And it goes through June 30th, 2025. So the first page I want to go over is page 1 of your packet. I'd like to point out that all the elected officials, none of them are over 75% of their spent budget right now. So that's right about where they want to be, including district court. And the second page I'd want to go over would be page 8 of the quarterly. About halfway down the page, this page is going over our grants, some of our grants and our projects that we have. So particularly the ARPA grant is what I'm pointing out here, and we currently have $1.5 million left of that budget. The bulk of that is our 5% retainage, which is going to be our final payment. We've learned in the past couple of weeks that it can take a while to make that last payment, so we're still hoping to get it paid out quickly, but it may at last past year end, is what I'm trying to get at there.
Which requires additional reporting.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
The next page I'll direct your attention to is page 20. And this is going over countywide property tax revenue by fund and how much we've collected as of June 30th, 2025. You notice as a total for the county, we've collected 98% of our levied property tax for 2025, which is, we had our second collection month in June. So we're sitting pretty good right now about where we want to be. There's always a little bit left over for unpaid taxes.
2% is pretty standard
It's pretty good.
this time of year. Okay.
And then the next page we'll go over is page 27. And this is our state revenue sharing and interest. And I made a little bit of updates this quarter so we can kind of see more clearly. Normally what happens is the quarter we're looking at here, we get the revenue the month after this report's created. So in this case, it came in July, but it was the third quarter's revenue. So the little table at the bottom shows what we got in quarter 3 for revenue sharing and sales tax. So I did the math. We're sitting just over 75% collected on revenue sharing and sales tax. And then we received our third quarter liquor payment. So we're doing really good on our state collections. And then looking at the graph, you'll see that fourth quarter, which is fourth quarter is usually our best month in terms of what we receive for sales tax and revenue sharing, likely because we have the most tourism in that quarter of the year. So we're doing really well in terms of our state revenue.
And this is fiscal year.
Correct.
So, okay.
And then we'll turn the page to the hot sheet on page 28 and 29. The bulk of we're pointing out anything on these pages that they've exceeded 85% of their budget as of June 30th. We give them a little bit of leeway over the 3/4 of the way mark. The only ones I really want to point out are the elections office. They had the November elections and the May elections. They had a lot of ballot printing and whatnot. And they've come before you guys and kind of explained where they're at, but they're currently sitting at 96% spent on their B budget. And then on the next page, the other one I want to point out is the sheriff's maintenance budget. They're currently sitting at 96% spent for the B budget, primarily due to just how much more square footage they have to cover. A lot of the accounts we're seeing them either exceeding or bumping up against their budget include, maintenance and repairs, materials and supplies, things that you would expect to be increased based off of extra square footage and more maintenance requirements. Otherwise, most of the other things on the hot sheet are capital purchases that were, budgeted for and spent, or things like court-ordered interlock fees, which we don't have any control over. But that's my presentation. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you. Questions? No. Commissioner Duncan, are you on the line? Do you have any questions?
I am, and I do not have questions, except was there, I understand an update. I am looking at the newest version, but I read through the old version. Was there a particular update?
The updates were on page 27. When I was putting together the graph, it's more of a manual process where I have to go into the system and essentially type in what we received in quarter 3 versus the table, which is auto updated. And so I missed a portion of the sales tax that we received in Q3. So it actually increased where the graph was on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, next up, item 2, School Resource Officer Contract. It's a discussion, and we have Under Sheriff Brett Nelson here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Under Sheriff Brett Nelson for the record. We currently have several of our contracts with the various schools out for review with Darren. And in our discussion to proceed, he needed some direction from the board as to how we will progress with these contract reviews moving forward.
Yes, Commissioners, the contracts are all substantially similar. However, price is a material term, and if we don't have an agreed upon price, we don't have a contract, so the board just needs to decide on a price.
Thoughts on this? Commissioner Duncan?
Well, I don't mind looking at funding and when things change. I don't have a problem with that. I think right now it is too late because, like was stated earlier, the schools, their budget starts about July 1, so they need a lot more leeway for these types of funding discussions so they can include it in their budget. So I say that we continue on this year, and then we have those discussions during the fall so we can prepare them if there are additional costs to the contracts moving forward.
I tend to agree with you on that because it's the 11th hour. The point of my presentation is that these are not a simple choice between a school resource officer, yes, no. It's a school resource officer with us taking a deputy off the street, entering into a contract that doesn't fully pay for the deputy, and then backfilling that position. And so we have to look at it from a holistic standpoint. And, you know, given the fact that there have been resource issues at the sheriff's office, my question is, is there ever a time where we say no, meaning that we're pulling enough people off the street that it actually creates an issue with service levels? And we don't have that discussion. And so I don't have a problem how we fund or enter into the school resource officer contracts as long as that entire conversation is had so that everyone has their eyes open and knows exactly what they're agreeing to. What happens is that we agree to these contracts without appreciating the fiscal impact later, and then we're approached with, I need more money. I need to fill positions. I need this, I need it. And the problem is that there's a limited amount of money out there. And it's not just one particular department or another. We have an issue with our prosecuting attorney who is going to come before us and ask for more money because of pay in other regions. And we have the same issue in other departments as well and elected officials. So I think that's really the point of what I was trying to accomplish. I don't believe that we need to make any change this year. But what we do need to do is we need to evaluate these things and look at how much of a difference are they really making, one. Two, how does it impact the service levels at the sheriff's office? And how does it impact the budget moving forward to backfill positions and things like that? And I think having that holistic conversation will not only serve the county well, but it'll serve the taxpayers well. So you have your direction, I think. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Commissioner Duncan?
Nope, I said it.
Okay. Let's move on to item 3, Building and Grounds Projects Update. It's a discussion item, and we have jail pod build-out, jail HVAC, coroner's autopsy lab, admin HVAC, Old Justice Building HVAC, and the jail generator. And we have our Director of Building and Grounds, Jeff Fowler.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Moeller for the record, as you stated. We've spent a lot of time talking about the Justice Building, and now that that's wrapped up, I just thought it'd be a good time to come bring several of the other projects that we've been working on, just so you understand where we're at in terms of timing and funding and just kind of overall project status of those. So the next biggest project that we have going on right now is the jail pods. As you know, we're well underway with that project. Slutton's doing a nice job with that. The metal cells on the first floor are fully assembled. in both of the pods. They are pouring the slabs to start completing the assembly of the second floor cells. And those are moving along just fine. Beginning assembly for that. I have a couple change orders, one that is on your agenda for this afternoon to approve in the business meeting. One question I did have that we haven't really discussed, I know, like, for example, with the Justice Building project, you have David Mendez managing the change orders, and you gave him a set dollar amount that he could approve. We've never really discussed that, if there's a threshold that you would want me to approve, or if you want me to bring every change order to you. For example, the afternoon change order that I'll be bringing is around $3,500. So it's kind of relatively small in the grand scope of that. I don't know if we'd want to set a $10,000 budget that I can approve those change orders, which is basically similar to my spending limit right now. But I wanted to ask you that because I do have a couple more that will be coming to you next week. One is a $7,000 change order for a fire line relocation that was in the way. But that actually, the good news is that'll be offset by a credit change order for a door that we deem not necessary. That's a $3,000 credit. So again, relatively small change orders in the grand scheme of the overall scope of this project. But I did kind of want some of your feedback if you would allow me to approve those change orders, or if you want me to bring all of those to the business meeting. So maybe I'll just kind of pause there for your thoughts on that.
Thank you. Thoughts? Well, right now.
I think since
Well, just to clarify, we gave David Mendez $25,000 leeway, but that was for the construction of the building. And, that's obviously tailing out. So it's really just a matter of, some dollar amount that allows Jeff to kind of continue to move without waiting on the board's normal cycle.
How much more in change orders?
Yes.
I mean, that's really hard to say. We set aside.
Throw the dice.
We set aside a contingency, so basically I'm spending out of that contingency dollars for that. I think it'd be nice to have a threshold that I can just approve and, like Commissioner Matari said, just to keep the project moving forward at a quick pace. Sometimes some of those come that, we need to make quick decisions on to move forward. We're not near spent out on the contingency that we set aside for that. It's still very healthy. Pending what out there that I can predict right now, I know there's a couple of things that I'm looking at. There's some cabling to run to the control desk that we had paused on that we're going to build the control desk in-house, but we still need to run the cabling for that. I'm guessing that's going to be a $6,000 ad, somewhere in that range if I were to guess on that. We are sanding and painting some split face block that's existing in the what I call the rec areas, just so it's not so rough, because split face block is really, really rough, and so we're going to sandblast that down and put an epoxy paint on it, so it's a little bit smoother finish, so that in case something gets a little out of hand in those rec yards, it's it won't be as damaging.
Do you think you have enough funds to finish this project as is?
As of today, yes. If something big comes up that was a total unforeseen, we would bring that to you and have a conversation. But as of today, yes, and I think the contingency is healthy enough to complete this project.
Good.
So, Commissioner Duncan, your thoughts?
Yes, I think 10,000 is a reasonable amount considering the size of the project compared to the Justice Building expansion. Also, if Jeff could just update us if the contingency spent is not pacing with the project. So, for instance, if we've spent 50% contingency but we're not 50% through the project, I think that would be an update that would be helpful.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think 10,000 is reasonable, and just give us some updates after the fact. And, the big thing, I think, is just if there is an issue, that if it falls on the contractor's lap, that we vigorously, argue that and not let it just come out of contingency for the sake of it.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
So, you good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, and then moving on to some of the other projects. On the admin HVAC project, if you recall, we bid that here several months ago, and it came in well over budget. And I mentioned to you when we rejected those bids that I think there was a lot of uncertainty just knowing that we were going to be disrupting offices as we moved about this building, trying to scope that project and do some night work and things. That is now out for rebid under the CMGC model so that we can bring the general contractor on board and have some more conversations, then sit down with the mechanical contractor and say, for example, okay, how, if in, the treasurer's office, we have 4 units, how long are we going to be working in that area? And how can we make that work so that we can effectively do that and probably define the scope of that work a little more clearly. And I think we can get our numbers down on that. So to still work within our $1.75 million construction budget that we have for that project. So that is out for rebid. Those bids are due on August 26th. And again, that's not going to give us a cost. That's just going to be proposals for the CMGC so that we can continue to negotiate to the guaranteed maximum price on that as we've kind of restructured and regrouped the model of how we would do this project. But again, so those will open on August 26th, but that project is moving forward again. The jail HVAC is another big project that we have. There are 19 units in mezzanines throughout the jail that we are going to take out and replace with rooftop units. That is out for bid as well. That is going to open on August 19th. That's currently we have $1.47 million in the budget for that project. And we will know here in a week where we stand on that one. So we had a pre-bid meeting here a couple weeks ago. We had 3 mechanical contractors and 3 general contractors. So I don't know if a general contractor will come in as what you call the prime on that, as the person submitting the bid, or if a mechanical contractor will submit the bid on that. That's going to be for them to decide, and it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. But that is opening next Tuesday at the business meeting on the 19th. That will be a spring start, assuming we accept the contracts for that, just based on lead time of equipment and planning. But we want to do that in a bit of a shoulder season when we don't have a lot of cooling and heating needs for the project. But we're in a good time for that, so we can plan through the winter for a spring start on that one. As you recall, a couple months back, we signed the contract on the jail generator. There is a 9-month lead time on that equipment, and so that'll be slated as a spring of 26 project as well. But that equipment is ordered. It's all been approved by the mechanical team, and so we're just kind of waiting on arrival equipment for that one. The coroner's autopsy lab, I think just an update on that. So we are in the design and value engineering phase of that, getting to the guaranteed maximum price. Geno Construction is our contractor on board with that, and they are working with the engineering team as we value engineer and pricing on that. So I think we're about 4 weeks away from bringing you a guaranteed maximum price on that one, but just want to let you know that we're still having regular meetings with the design team, the contractor team, and moving forward on that we will be bringing pricing together to you here in the near future. On the Justice Building HVAC that we are replacing, that equipment is on order, and that's going to be installed in late September, early October. There is a change order for that will be on your business meeting this afternoon. And if I can just give kind of a quick briefing on that, that change order is to bring on the controls. So on the existing Justice Building, we are using what you call a train control system. So that's the computer module that allows us to go in and look at all the HVAC settings. What kind of temperature is it putting out on this unit? Is everything functioning? Are the fans going? Allows us to adjust temperatures in the building. And so this would bring that train control system into the old portion of the building. Currently, the way it was scoped, there was only a portion of that train system that was going to be added to the units, but not to the actual terminal units that are to the end of the line that kind of reheat the air at the very end of it. So that change order is something that we have talked about that was proposed in my FY26 budget. That, pending any drastic changes to that has been published in that budget. So the funding will take place as of October 1 for that. This change order is within that budget that I presented in that FY26. So the change order is going to be allocating the acceptance of that, should you do that at the business meeting this afternoon. so that we can move forward with that. And again, it is within the budget that we have discussed that was in FY '26, so that funding then will automatically become available on October 1 as we start the new fiscal year. But we need to get that change order going so that we can order equipment so that we're ready to install that with the installation of the new equipment that'll be going in for the old portion of the Justice Building to bring everything online and allow us to control that whole building from our same control setup, if that makes sense. And then the final thing to update is the concrete project that we're doing throughout the admin campus started today. You've probably heard or seen or with the jackhammering that's going on, but we are starting on the east side of the building with the Terra, go pour that, and then in a few weeks we'll start on the west side. So those are my updates, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to stand for those.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Duncan?
None.
All right. That's it. Thank you. Next up, public comment. Would anyone like to speak? Anybody on the telephone? You can get back up. You get 3 minutes, and please state your name again.
My name is Kathy Mickles. I would just like to give you this article that I made reference to so that you would have it to see that there are problems associated with it. And just for the record, it was implied, I overheard a conversation that people weren't getting their facts straight. And I just would like to say that my background requires me to have learned that you must get your facts straight. And so that's very important to us also. So do I give these to you now, or do I wait till afterwards?
You can give it afterwards. So,
Okay,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Anybody else? Anybody on the telephone? 10:31, meeting adjourned. Thank you.